You're now watching an excerpt from a Terrace podcast episode exclusive to our Patreon website. If you would like to listen to the podcast in full, head over to patreon.com/Terrace podcast, where you can unlock this show and thousands of hours worth of bonus content.
But yes, and so my number 10 is Joseph Hart.
Fucking hell, I've got him a lot higher.
Really?
Aye.
He has been so and like I was considering leaving him off my list because I do think in terms of he is one of the reasons why Celtic will lose the league.
Well, quite possibly, but he's one of many reasons, I would say.
Yeah, I don't know. That's absolutely fair. But I just think he's regressed. I thought he was regressing last season, and he's regressed. I just looked around and just thought, would I want him in my starting 11? And I mean, no, he just does not fill me with confidence anymore. Looking at him, he is slow to move across his line. He has no presence in the box. So basically, the reason he's on my list is because of his mainly, Celtic's number one, which goes against him because he's playing for one of the biggest clubs in the country, and he plays every week. But you watch him, and he's got no presence. See, if I was playing Celtic, I would just say in swinging corners, just crowd him in swinging corners, and there's a good chance he'll score because he's not strong enough in those situations. You've seen the goal against St Johnstone, I think it was McDermott Park, where he just kind of just fell over. He is, like I said, slow moving across his line. He does this thing, especially, so the Stephen Kingsley free kick against Hearts was a great free kick, but I actually think he could have done better because I noticed it with the Tavernier free kick as well, and even sometimes from shots from open play, he does this thing where he jumps, which he does a small jump when the ball's hit, and then it takes him ages to, in relative terms to the ball being struck, move across his goal. So I just look at him, and if he ends up in the back of the net a lot, and that's not a good thing for a goalkeeper.
Well, yeah, I wondered about David Watson's goal as well. Like the header, he seems to dive at the wrong angle, and he kind of ends up behind the line. And that's a couple of times this season he's ended up behind the line. I wasn't sure whether to clock that as a mistake though, because I'm still not sure whether he would have actually been able to keep that header out. So I just looked at, I done my usual. I looked through every single shot that all the goalkeepers, well, all the main ones in the Scottish top flight have faced this season. And Joe Hart, so I think as well, the narrative surrounding him this season has been also perpetrated due to the fact that he's been very poor in Europe. But how many of the goalies in this list would you take and put in the Celtic team and tell them to go play in the Champions League and would look any better than Joe Hart? I don't think there's many. So I think that kind of is counted against him this season in the reputation he's kind of had due to that. I think he's actually, in terms of his shot stopping, been pretty fine in the Scottish Premiership this year. You're right, there is some where you're kind of wondering if he's not moving quite as quickly as he once did. But he's been in good form recently. He was the best player against St Mirren. He was the best player in one of the other games recently as well. I'm trying to remember which one it was now. And I still think he's one of the better goalkeepers in this league. I think he's just knocked down because he's been very poor in European football. But at the level they're playing at, like I said, just stick just about everybody else at that level, and they would also struggle as well. So I've got very high. I've probably got him too high. You've got him too low. The truth probably sits somewhere in the middle.
Going back to the Heart Celtic game, Celtic fans were sarcastically cheering him when he grabbed the ball because he would come and he would punch.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
He would come and punch, and there's
you're right about putting a man on him at corners, because of the goals he's conceded this season, there was only 3 that I was like, right, he's definitely at fault there, and all 3 of them were him not being strong enough, with the other team just putting everybody into the 6-yard box and putting the ball into there, and he just doesn't manage to come through the crowd of bodies to punch it away or to claim it or whatever, and that's on 3 occasions led to goals. And those are his 3 main mistakes this season, I would say, and in the league.
There's a reason he's retiring next season.
I still think he could play. He obviously wants to retire when he's still at the top.
A good level.
Quote unquote at the top level. Because I think he could easily go to like a League One club in England and say like, I'm getting on a bit. Let me just play weekend games or something. And like, there's a lot of teams who'd be queuing up to go, yeah, we'll definitely take you on. But he obviously doesn't fancy doing that. He'd rather go out while he's, possibly still going to win something, although that's looking increasingly unlikely by the game.